Hola amigos, and welcome back to another episode of La Vida Verde podcast. I'm your host Matthew Human here at Finca Vida Verde, and my guest this week is Trisha Benson. Trisha is a fitness instructor. She's a mother exploring non-traditional relationships, which ought to be fun to talk about. She is one of the co-founders of LIT, Love and Intimacy Tools, and I see that she's brought her tools here with her. If we're lucky, perhaps we will get a demonstration. It's going to be a great episode. We hope you enjoy. Trisha Benson, welcome to La Vida Verde podcast.
Thank you so much. Happy to finally be here.
I love you wearing a red shirt. I love that you're bold red shirt. And yo, everybody, what's happening? This is Humano. Guys, thank you, everybody who's been watching this podcast. I want to invite you to join our Patreon, patreon.com/La Vida Verde podcast. We are looking for ways to build our community. We have a lot of great content on there, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. It helps fund this program so we can keep having great guests, great conversations. Go check it out, patreon.com/La Vida Verde podcast. Pura vida. Trisha and I, we have this unique special connection it's an interesting how it developed because we had met originally just in passing one short time at Ecovia San Mateo at the feria.
Right.
And then the next time I talked to you or heard from you, I believe it was It was you reached out and you were like looking for a place to stay at Envision, and it was like late in the game. There wasn't a lot available.
That's how I roll.
And but I had this bunk bed in the tiny house that I was staying in.
Yep.
And I was like, well, I don't have a room, but you could stay in my bunk bed. And we got the opportunity to go just become friends, like go deep.
Yes.
And I love that you're very open as I am. And so
Yeah.
And
you definitely made the point to be like, make sure you're not annoying, are you? You don't pack a lot. You're not annoying.
No, you were super, and you are a great roommate.
Thank you.
I would live with you in a tiny home again. I would do it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Love to hear that.
So thank you for coming, and let's just start like with a little bit of like your past. You were born in Reno, right?
I was born in Reno, Nevada, which is not the most interesting origin story, I'd say. Yeah.
Reno's cool. I like Reno.
Wasn't cool 40 years ago.
It was the biggest little city.
It was always been the biggest little city. Maybe a lot of crackheads around there. But now it's revived itself. Now it's like a little Portland-esque Austin flavor vibe. So it's cool now.
Because of Burning Man.
Because of me.
Because of you.
Because of Burning Man.
Well, thank you, Trisha. Reno.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of Burning. But Burning Man has helped to build that, because it's kind of the gateway also to Burning Man.
Absolutely, yeah. Which I've never been to, ironically.
Me neither.
So.
Well, that's one thing we have in common.
Yeah, right.
We both avoided it.
Yeah, exactly.
And your brother is a festival producer.
He's a festival creator, in Santa Barbara, and so.
What was the festival? Lucidity, right?
Lucidity,
right?
Yeah, and he also works at Envision, and he's always kind of been like, "Why don't you go to more festivals?" And Envision was my first festival ever. So
no,
yes, my first festival at 41.
Your first festival, and you stayed in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Wow.
You popped my festival cherry.
Aww. No, figuratively.
Yeah.
Figuratively.
Let's clear the air
let's just clear the air, okay? It was figurative. Bunk beds, separate beds. But you also told me that you were in Africa. You were working with nonprofits.
I did, yeah. I became really interested in Africa when I was going to university, and I started out volunteering there, and very quickly decided I wanted to create my own nonprofit. That worked with orphanages in East Africa, and so I set up.
Sweet.
It's so sweet. It's what every idealistic young 20-year-old should be doing.
But aren't.
creating nonprofits to help orphanages.
You're a role model, Trisha.
That's
You are. No, seriously. That's what 20 years old. You're like working with creating orphanages in Africa.
Yeah, I mean, I very much, it's funny because Africa is my experience in Africa was probably why I was drawn to a place like Ecovia or the, Machuca Valley in general, because I experienced a way of living differently in community. And I think that I'm generalizing here, but most Africans are very accepting and open, and family is a big deal, and extended community is a big deal, and they're very supportive. And I lived in East Africa for 10 years, a decade, and I would say I
Where?
grew up there. I was based out of Uganda, and then I traveled around to about 7 to 9 different countries. Later, I worked for another nonprofit that delivered computers to schools in Africa, so I managed the region's operations.
And did you feel, I mean, it must have been interesting being like a Western woman in Africa. Like, did you feel safe? Was there like sketchy things or like?
No, I felt really safe. I mean, honestly, like I put myself as 20-year-olds do in lots of situations I shouldn't have, I'd say.
Ooh.
I definitely spent my nights at Irish pubs and took motorcycle taxis home at 3 a.m. Like
Irish pubs in East Africa?
there's a big Irish and East Africa connection. For whatever reason, sometimes countries just have connections with different other countries.
But like Irish people?
There's
a big Irish.
There's a big Irish contingency. I worked for an Irish nonprofit after I started my own nonprofit.
So there was a lot of Westerners in that area.
Yeah, there is, and like there always, I think, will be. Either people interested in developing nonprofit work, non-governmental work, so all that kind of stuff.
Got it.
Yeah. And so I did spend some time in Irish pubs making bad decisions, and I never felt unsafe. Like I always made it home. I have a really embarrassing story once where I was driving.
We love embarrassing stories on the podcast.
I know. So I was driving. I used to drive this big like van, right, for my work. We called it the Mzungu Matatu, which means like the white, like they called everybody white in Africa. It was the Mzungus. And then the Matatus were like these big buses that like drove people around to where they needed to go, like city buses.
Big white person bus.
There was the big white person bus. So I drove this bus because I needed it for work. And one day, like I had a couple too many. I shouldn't have been driving. We all know we shouldn't be driving, but I was 25 and making bad decisions.
Okay.
I literally drove home on the wrong side of the road because there was nobody on the road at 3 a.m. And I grew up driving on the other side grew up driving on the other side of the road in America.
The right side of the road.
Right. And so they drive on the left. And although I'd been there for like 4 years at this point, when you shouldn't be driving, you were
drunk driving a bus full of people?
No, just myself.
Okay.
Yeah, just myself.
Like, where's this going, Trisha?
But the funny thing is the police, of course, pulled me over.
Oh, no.
Thank God. Like, smart for them to pull me over. But they found me extremely amusing. Like, they're okay. Like, oh, like this dumb young white girl. And they were like, how much money can I get off this person? Fair enough. And I didn't have any cash on me. I had nothing. And so they were like, let's go to the ATM. And I was like, I don't even have my bank card on me. They're like, let's go to your house. They escorted me home. Mind you, they didn't tell me to stop driving. They were like, we'll just drive behind you. Like, you drive home, but on the other side of the road. We get to my house and I like go in and get whatever money I have and like give it to them. And they're like, have a nice day. Like, that's the kind of stuff, that could have ended very badly.
How much money was it?
I think it was probably $20. It was like the equivalent of $20 in the local currency.
And that's wow.
And that was good enough for them, for the dumb white girl driving on the wrong side of the road drunk.
Okay.
Moral of the story is don't do that.
Yeah, and also
terribly poorly.
You're losing your what did I said you were a role model, but this is you're losing role model status.
We all have to make bad decisions to get to a place where you make good decisions.
We do. It's just true. This is true. Okay. Okay. So East Africa. And that was, you said you were there for like 10 years in Uganda?
I was, yeah. After I worked for nonprofits, I worked for an East African oil company and did corporate social responsibility for a, like 3 years,
Okay.
which was fun. Sold my soul for a little bit, and then decided that that wasn't for me. Wasn't for me. So
Yeah.
then I moved to Bali and did a yoga teacher training, which is
Okay.
how that you
Ah,
just
that's like a corporate oil job.
yeah,
Bali yoga teacher
as
training.
you do.
We've had a lot of people on the podcast who like this is their they had that
Right.
thing.
That's the
That's what we
story.
all have in common here.
Right.
Is like we all had some friggin' Kundalini awakening. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't live like that anymore. Now I have to go
Right.
follow my passion and my heart.
Absolutely.
Good for you.
And that's what I did.
Good for
Yeah.
you. And at what point? So you were now we're getting into the good stuff. No. Yeah, you were married previously. You're now with Eros.
I am with Eros.
And who is, for those who are locals,
Yeah.
may recognize Eros. He's a very how do we say?
So handsome.
He's a handsome. He is very handsome, and he's also just got this look. He's kind of intense and but also like this beautiful. And he's named after the god of love. So it's like Eros if you live in this community. Like when people ask me, Trisha, who? Trisha and Eros? Oh, yeah, okay. Like
I got to make my name on
sorry
my
to
own.
say, I know. Well, that's why we're having you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Trisha Benson. You're not Eros.
Yeah.
Okay, so but you're with Eros,
Yeah.
but your ex-husband
Yes.
also lives here
With us.
with you.
Yes. Yeah.
And you have 2 kids with Jeff.
with Jeff. That's right.
So tell us the story, because I was confused when I met you. I'm like, so I'm very
Yeah.
direct. What's the deal? Are you in an open relationship? Are you guys like 3-waying it? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on over there?
Yes, and literally just at a party last week, a girl came up to me and she's like, "I always see 2 men coming out of your house. Like, what you got going on over there?"
What?
And unfortunately, it's not as exciting as it sounds. The truth is, like, I met Jeff in Africa, actually.
What was he doing there?
He worked for UNICEF and did communications materials.
Oh,
Yeah, and
I
so we
didn't know
met
that.
actually at the very end of our decade there, and we moved to Bali together and got married.
Oh,
Yeah, and then came home and had kids.
oh, I have to talk to him more.
Yeah,
Sounds fascinating.
he's super fascinating as well. I only collect fascinating men.
Okay.
So we got married.
Collect them all.
I collect them
Collect
all.
them all.
I'm collecting you
I don't know.
now.
Am I getting? How do I get in the? How do I get in the cards?
Yeah. So we got married, and I think about 7 years in, which was probably like 4 years ago, we started exploring polyamory as a dynamic that we were curious if it would work for our relationship. It also seemed to be like the really it thing to do. Like everybody was doing it. It was like being talked about a lot. A friend
Right.
had a podcast all about polyamory. I
Which
started
one?
listening to it. It's called Remodeled Love.
Okay. For a while I was listening to the Evolving Love podcast.
Yeah, and I've listened to that one too. But
Yeah.
like it started to sound like so cool and like really amazing, right? So
Well, yeah,
we're
it's
gonna try this.
Well, because the couple's like always gonna be like, oh yeah, it's so good. Like we have lovers. They're talking about their lovers, and like
Right.
I know, but I knew listening to those podcasts. I'm like, there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes. They are definitely not talking about.
There's a lot of shit, but like the good thing about polyamory and what I credit my experience with that for is like you have to have good communication. Like if your communication
Yeah.
isn't like next level, like you cannot
No.
play in that realm at all. And so
Yeah.
ultimately I one of the people I dated in this polyamorous dynamic was Eros,
Mm.
and we started dating probably for like a year, and Eros met Jeff, and like this was kind of more kitchen table, if you're familiar with the lingo, or it's
Kitchen
like
table. Like,
kitchen table, like we're all around the kitchen table, like after a while, obviously I'm simplifying it, there was a lot of like
right.
things in between there in communication. And then ultimately, like, Jeff, we all kind of decided, but Jeff was more like, what? Like, this is like too much effort for me. Honestly, it was, and I'm speaking for him, but he was kind of like, it's a lot of effort to like try and have multiple relationships. And I just don't really think it's for me. And I was like, I get that. like a fuck ton of effort. And Eros as well, although he has explored in polyamorous relationships as well, was kind of like, I prefer to be monogamous. And
It's a lot of work.
it is. It's a lot of work,
Maintaining
right?
one relationship is a lot of work. Maintaining like
Exactly.
multiple is like, ugh.
Absolutely. And so, ultimately, like Jeff and I decided to get a divorce, but we co parent really well together. And he's one of my best friends, and we just get along really well. And so, this experiment of us living together is new. I mean, it's definitely not long term, right? We all want our separate
So
space.
all
Every-
you, Eros, Jeff, and your 2 kids live in a house together.
Absolutely. And it's a big house, so that's good.
Okay.
But, like,
Right.
still, like, we all ultimately want our separate space, and we are
Yeah.
building houses
Right.
to accommodate that. But we're building houses side by side so that we can
That's so cool.
co-parent our kids
I love that.
together.
That's a good way of doing things. I mean, why not?
Why not? Like, I feel like we should all be serving as better examples of how we move through the world as our wise, mature adult selves, rather than our like jealous and like, I don't know, like not being able to talk through things is really hard. And it's funny, even in Jeff's experience of dating other people, like some people date polyamorous men just because they have a good relationship with their ex, and the average man can't handle the dynamic of somebody having like a healthy, good friendship with their ex, right?
Interesting.
So it's just trying to shift the paradigm on relationships in general and how we do them.
I truly appreciate that. I have had some experience in polyamory, quite a bit of it actually. And yeah, it's interesting. It's like it has to be a lot of trust and a lot of communication and a lot of alignment.
Sure.
Because, and people diverge. Like sometimes it's going this way, and then someone's like, oh, we're gonna go that way.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
that happens.
And you have to be prepared for that and completely cool with it.
But in the end, it's like you get to continue living being yourself. I feel like that's the thing I liked the most about it is I got to continue being me. It wasn't me and this person, or even though you're Trisha and or Eros and Trisha. No, you're still Trisha,
Yes,
and like
absolutely.
you like you said, you're your own person. He's his own person. You kind of maintain your sense of autonomy.
Well, that's the thing, and that's the real thing that we've taken away from polyamorous relationships, I think, or relating that way, is that autonomy is so important, right? And like we get so enmeshed when we do relationships, and my friendships are really important. Like friendships are vital, and sometimes friendships fall off when you have a relationship as well.
It's
So,
true. Yeah, that's the same. I've lost friends like that way. I'm like, God,
yeah,
can we come back to being my friend now?
exactly, right.
Okay, but you and Eros now are in a closed monogamous relationship.
We are, and I think that, like, I kind of told you at Envision, even our closed monogamous relationship probably looks different
Than most people
than
would see
most
in a
people's
closed
closed
Yeah, like
monogamous
we've
relationship.
cuddled
We
and
cuddle, and Eros knows about that.
uh-huh.
Like,
But it was not. But nothing.
it was
There
not
was
sexual.
no lines crossed. Yes, no lines. Just to be clear. I don't believe. I'm very because I've been in these kinds of
Yeah,
relationships. I also strongly believe um in boundaries and like understanding
yeah.
people's boundaries and like you know
Absolutely. And I think if you have good boundaries with somebody, you can have a almost sensual, even romantic relationship without sex, right? Like,
the- cry. I'm gonna cry.
so, but it's true, like as long as you guys can both respect boundaries
Yeah.
and understand where that is, I feel comfortable with, Eros going to, different, like, he's gone to like sex parties on his own, and like he's not having sex, but he's giving sensual touch. He's touching naked women's bodies. Like, I think it's, when you have a level of trust and
It's a
understanding,
deep level of
it's a
trust.
deep level of trust. And like I completely trust him, like 100%.
Would you say? I mean, just while we're on this
Yeah.
topic, like, are either of you kind of like jealous, like have a jealous tendency, or would you say you've always been kind of like not really?
For sure, like, for sure. I
Jealousy
think
comes
jealousy
up.
is a
It's a thing.
completely normal experience, and I've definitely had the situations where I was like, but was her body better than mine?
Aw.
Like, and that's normal,
Aw.
right? Like you want the affirmation, right?
Never better, different.
Different, right?
That's the
And
thing.
so, and also, like there's always things that come up, right? And it's fear. It's just fear, and you have to talk through it. And hopefully, if you're in a healthy relationship with good communication, which
Totally.
is you're talking about your fears
Yeah.
and you trust the person you're with.
And Jeff is single right now.
He's single right now,
Right,
ladies. There's
yes.
all 4 of you.
Ladies, I know we were at a party the other night, and I'm like, I just went up to him. I'm like, I had a feeling, and I'm like, okay, she
Yeah.
married, her, don't even think about it. That one, yeah, I wouldn't go there. That one single. That one's single. I know there was 3.
Poor Jeff as well, because I feel like I'm like, well, I want somebody who's going to be cool with me being like in the picture a lot.
Yeah,
And that adds an
maybe harder
extra
to find.
dimension of complication.
No, but you're
right?
you're so super easygoing and
Yeah.
like super easy to get along with and
Thank
fun.
you. Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't want? I'd want you
you.
in my husband's ex partner ish thing.
Trying to figure out what that is.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
Okay, so
Yeah.
moving on.
Yes.
Will you also teach that? So I just want to quickly mention you're also passionate about fitness, and you
Yeah.
teach the HIIT workouts, high intensity
Interval training.
down
Yeah.
in Equivia. So you
Yes.
keep that every week, right?
Yes.
Multiple times a week.
Well, it depends on who else wants to volunteer to teach, but it's something I'm really passionate about. So
Right,
I
Julianne
love doing.
used to teach it too.
Julianne teaches, Oren will teach it sometimes. Whoever's visiting who has something to offer for sure. But it's something that I always love to do and easily give. We're always trying to give something in this community, right? And that's a way that I feel very confident in giving my skills and my energy to, because
Right.
it's like, to me, like fitness and sensuality and like health and like everything we do here, like it all goes together. So
Yeah.
you've got to, I don't know, you
Yeah,
got to.
and I love that you
get it
guys, you're the energy that you and Eros and Jeff have brought to the community is so, for me, refreshing,
Aw.
because sometimes gets a little, I don't know, like traditional here. And I'm not a traditional person. I
It's
like
weird that it gets traditional
it
here.
does. Well,
That's interesting.
it does. I mean, in a way, it's
Yeah.
like I love all the neighbors. I love everybody, and in their own ways, and but like I'm a very sensual, touchy person, and
Yeah.
I don't always feel comfortable going. In fact, I had one friend who was like, "I don't hug men anymore,"
Right.
and I'm like, "Okay, like sounds good. Like I won't touch you then." And I'm
I'll
like,
hug you. I'll
"Yeah,
make
you'll
up your
hug me. I
hugs.
know."
I'll make up hugs.
All
I'm
right.
a very huggy person.
And speaking of sensuality, let's talk about your company, Lit.
Yes.
What is Lit?
Lit, love and intimacy tools, and we are an e-commerce company. Also, but we do other things. So we are selling
Like what?
sensation products. But like one of the things near and dear to our heart is education around intimacy, right? And so for us, like for instance, living with boundaries that may be looser to some, because we're so into sensuality and non-sexual touch, it's really important to us to have this education piece along with our tools. And so it's very easy to sell anything these days, but we feel like there's like an actual paradigm shift of how people think about sensuality, how they think about intimacy, how we think about non-sexual touch, and even in relationships, like when you're with when you're with someone else, like a partner, you've been married for 10 years, we forget the importance of like non-sexual touch without like really just removing sex and taking it off the table to really allow your nervous system to relax and drop in. And I'm, yeah,
I know.
right?
I mean, it's true, and especially when it's very clear. It's like, okay, this is. It does. It takes a lot of the pressure off, because a lot of our thing is like, what is trying to figure out the
How do I get there?
relationship, or how do I get there? Yeah, like
to the end
how am I
point.
gonna bang this one?
Yeah.
Like, no, but it's
Right.
true. You take that off the table. It's like, we are not gonna have sex.
Yeah.
You can now just enjoy being my friend.
Right. Or
Like,
just a pleasure body, right? Like
Yeah.
and I think also we have reduced like the capacity for pleasure in our body down to like this small
Yeah.
little area, right? So I was writing this post that
So
well,
true.
Eros wrote this great blog post about how to kind of hack your pleasure, like pleasure hacking, like biohacking, right? And really it's like if you stretched out the human skin, it's like 20 square feet. And that's an American thing. I don't know what it would be in square meters. I don't
20 square feet is like, I don't know,
Just
like,
like not a lot of square
yeah,
meters.
like 7 square meters, 6
Right.
square meters.
And we primarily, as men and
6 and a
women,
half.
focus on like 0.2 square meters, like the penis or the vulva. And like we focus our attention there as like the pleasure receptor like area, right? But your brain works in an amazing way. So if you start like touching in a different area, right? And like it's connected to like this really sensual experience, your brain will start, getting more neurons firing for that area, right? For your toes, behind your knees, like all these other areas that you can experience like a variety of different touch, which we think is really awesome. And not only that, but your skin cells, like they deliver like sensation back to your brain depending on what kind of sensation it is. So if you scratch someone versus like run feathers over them, you're actually like your brain is lighting up in different ways, right? So we're all about like how do you, turn on all of that as much as you can. And so that's why we created a bunch of sensation play tools.
Will you show us, pull some out here?
Well, I have some presents for you.
Oh, presents.
I brought you presents.
Oh, wow. No way.
So I brought you
a puff.
something on the softer end. This is the OG sensation tool. So
Well,
just
how do I
kind of
open it?
like this.
Oh.
It's very
Oh,
fancy.
these are nice boxes.
Thank you. So this is the
Ooh.
OG.
Oh, this is the one. Yeah. This is a butt plug? No, I'm sorry. This
At
is a
your
tail.
own risk.
It could be.
It could be
I
a
know.
very, very small butt plug. If
Oh,
you're new. Yes.
that's what I do.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Ugh. See, I didn't know you were going to use it on me. That's actually really nice.
Of course it is. You're used to having to do it on everyone else. How does it feel?
Like
What is your experience?
like being kissed by 1,000 little angels.
Oh. Good marketing.
So on the other side of that,
Oh,
I wanted
no
to bring
way!
you
Oh,
these.
you brought me claws.
I brought you claws.
I love
Yeah.
that. Hold on,
Yeah.
sorry, man, I'm getting stuck in the puff.
Okay, yeah, you can get stuck in the puff. So this
I
is
love the claws.
soft side.
This side, hold on. There we go.
Yeah.
So nice.
So you have a little carrier with it.
Oh, I love this.
Also, there's QR videos, so you can go watch those for fun.
Oh, awesome.
Eros
Is it
and
you
I.
and Arrows? Awesome. I will. Oh, these, I mean, come on. Look at these.
Yeah.
I'm like I'm gonna be Wolverine.
And whoever you get to play with those with, so they kind of should go
How's it go?
like thumb,
That?
next finger, and you can adjust them, so you can
Oh,
just
you can
tighten them
tighten
to
them by
your own fingers so that you're
twist
just
them, right.
easily put them
Right,
on.
they're just light metal. So
Yeah.
And these are, what's funny, because I play the banjo a little bit,
So
and these are just like banjo picks.
yeah.
I have actually some smaller versions of these.
But not as
Not as
awesome.
Okay. Oh, I gotta pull them out. I don't want to break them.
You're not gonna break them.
No?
Nah.
Okay. All right.
And then once you have them fitted for your fingers, then you just pop them back in the box, and they're always like ready to go. And honestly, like for those people who love back scratches, this is just like the most amazing
You get ready, 'cause
feeling.
you're about to
I
get
am.
the back scratch of your life.
Or an arm scratch, I suppose,
Okay, we'll
because
do
that's what.
yeah, well, no back here.
There's no back here.
We'll do an arm.
Let me
So what
see.
do I do? I
Just do it.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. More like soft hands. It don't have to be so like this. Yes. Woo.
Oh yeah, I'm making scratches. Hold on, I don't want to.
No. No, you're not gonna break my skin. They're
I
not
can
that.
see it's making marks.
It's
though.
okay. I like marks.
Oh. This is okay.
Yes, you can go harder if you want.
Oh, see, this is part of it. You got to ask
Yeah, absolutely.
what's
Consent
going on.
is so big. And like that's the thing, like in our videos as well, we talk about there's like little intimacy games that you're playing with your partner, right? Around these tools and like increasing communication and
ever
like
do it
what
to
do you
yourself?
like?
You ever do it to yourself?
Yeah.
It's not the same, but
It's not the same when you have to do it,
feels good.
You have to have somebody else do it.
All right, but I have 2 hands worth of claws.
You have 2
now.
hands worth of claws. Can wear them out as part of your costume now. Yes.
Look at these.
I know.
Okay.
So,
Awesome.
Yeah, so those are for you. Of course, we
Thank you
have
so much.
a
This is
lot of
such
other
a
stuff.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. These are quite a gift.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So show us the other ones though.
So some of
Because
our
you sell a whole, this is a
we
kit
do.
you sell.
We do. We sell them individually. We sell them as a kit. We have our Fluff Daddy,
The Fluff
which
Daddy.
is just the most amazing for like nervous system regulation.
Now, normally people would be like laying
Down naked. Please
naked
be
down.
naked.
Yeah.
And please, like all of our tools, they do better slow. I don't know how many times we've witnessed somebody picking this up and just like smacking.
Flogging. Yeah, they think it's a flogger.
It doesn't work that way. It's for like this is something my kids use, like not you know, not the ones I use with my partner, but you know, even for kids, like nervous system regulation before you go to sleep, if they're like wired, you do one of these over their back a few times and they're just like,
Oh, it's so calming. It's like a
it is. It's just like it's like
It is calming. It's soft. It's very soft.
yeah, we found the softest material. Like
Yeah. What was the what was it like developing these products?
oh my gosh, Eros could tell you more about it, but he stayed in China for a long time. We wanted the highest quality products we could get, and I think he delivered. He did such a good job, but these are like nowhere else is making this kind of stuff. You might recognize something like this.
All right.
This
Like
is
the
the scratch me if you can.
The things.
Right. So we developed it off of the kind of full-headed one. If you're like, ahem, and
Oh,
yes.
my whole body's tingling.
Yes.
I like it.
I know.
I like this one.
I know
People
you
like
like this
this
one. We didn't have a lot down here. That's why I didn't bring you one because we actually have people waiting on orders from us, which is amazing. But also like in the hair.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here, you want
So
me to do you?
do, do me, baby.
All right.
Like, oh, it's so funny. No matter how many times I've felt our own tools, like.
Yeah, you got the right
Like,
business.
oh my God. Like, no matter how many times I'm still like, oh, like I start drooling and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's really
Oh, I gotta go slower. Slow.
can't go fast, but
Okay, yeah,
it's
because
just
because we're time, you know.
just because of time. We don't want to speed it up. I mean, there's
Show
a lot of other stuff, but one of my other favorites.
us your favorites, and we'll show a whole thing. Oh,
the chain.
Oh yeah.
I love when these have been in the freezer, especially in Costa Rica. When these
Ooh.
have been in the freezer and you're doing some temperature play, which is really fun. Then they're cold, and so if you're like alternating between the products, you get this cold like and you just kind of like
Yeah,
melt.
it's heavy. It's a little heavier, and
Yeah.
it is a little colder naturally.
Right, naturally it's colder.
'Cause
So
it's
even if you
metal.
just leave it in your room, it is colder.
But
and
if you put it in the
if you put it in the freezer, it's a
Freezer.
whole experience. I put them in the freezer. My house cleaner probably thinks I'm crazy. She's always like, I see her sometimes. She's just like, what is that doing in the freezer? We are like, we call it gravity play because it is heavy. It's like comforting. And that can be really fun. I mean, you could use it as a flogger if you're into that, but
that'd be an intense flogger.
it's an intense flogger.
Wow.
So, and we have the classic like floggers because there is a time and a place for it.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe later
Maybe
on the Patreon.
maybe for Patreon. Yeah, we're gonna do a little Patreon extra.
will.
Wow, this is so I love you, Trisha. Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing your tools and
you.
Lit. It's called Lit.
Yeah, Lit.
Where-
LIT, Love and Intimacy Tools is what it stands for.
Where can people find your products?
Yeah, www.litup.love.
LitUp.love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, please go find us, and from there, go follow us at Instagram because there's sometimes spicy content that might be fun.
Tell us about
at @litup_love at Instagram.
At @litup_love.
Mhm.
Okay, Trisha Benson, this has been a true pleasure, a sensual pleasure. And we will have Eros on another time.
You should.
Yeah,
I
know he's a whole fascinating character in and of himself,
Yeah.
and so
That'll be a 2-hour podcast.
Nah, but we'll make it interesting.
Yes.
Trisha Benson, thank you so much
Thank
with
you for having me.
Love and Intimacy Tools. This is La Vida Verde podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Human. We release episodes every Tuesday on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Instagram at Finca Vida Verde CR. We are on Facebook, Finca Vida Verde. I want to say deep thank you to Eco Teas Yerba Mate for keeping me charged.
Nice.
And Lit Tools for the beautiful, lovely gifts.
Yeah.
And you can find us at fincavitaverde.com. We will be back next Tuesday with another episode. Oh, don't forget to check out our Patreon, especially now, because we're about to do some crazy thing with that flogger over there. Wink, wink, nod, nod. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? We'll see you next time. Pura vida.
Bye.